A big tip is get a coach, get a mentor. Because having a mentor who is in a position where you yourself would like to be, you have that guidance. They can guide you towards that. And, sometimes it may be a little pricey, but it's worth it because you'll make that back. If you have the right coach, you make that back as quickly as possible. And one key factor I think all new investors need to have is really believing in themselves and knowing that they can do it because the opportunity is out there and it's possible. It's possible for any and everyone. So just look within yourself, believe in yourself, and know that you can do it. And there's people around to guide you. You just got to ask the question.
Analyzing your first deal can be very stressful. There are many factors to consider based on the property type, as well as your investment criteria. Keshera Lyons sits down with us this week to share tips and tricks when analyzing your first deal and talks about the role that mentorship played in getting started as a real estate investor. You're listening to the Black Wealth Effect podcast, where we're all about inspiring the next generation of Black Canadian real estate investors to succeed financially. If you're tuned in, that means you're hungry to take action and build wealth outside of your 9-to-5. We'll be sitting down with Black real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and allies to discuss a diverse set of topics to help you along your investing journey. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode on the Black Wealth Effect podcast. We have our special guest with us today, Keshera Lyons. Keshera, so happy to have you on today. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm doing good today, considering, the weather change. I'm doing good. I'm feeling good, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Love the energy. All right. So you and I, we chatted a couple months back when you were just getting started on your investing journey. So I'm excited to hear where it's taken you so far. For audience members who may not know who Keshera is, can you give us a 30-second, high-level elevator pitch on who you are and what you're up to in the real estate space?
Okay, so a lot of people know me as Keshera Lyons on social media and within the real estate world. I started off with wholesaled a couple single family homes, and I kind of wanted to branch more towards multifamilies. Originally, when I started, I had the idea of wanting to flip homes and go into that whole flipping, renovating, reselling. But as I kind of got into the groove of things and started educating myself a bit more, I realized that that's not really the area I want to focus on. I'm okay with like the BRRRR method, which is kind of similar, but instead of selling, you refinance and you get it rented out. So that's a method I'm still interested in, but on a multifamily level. So currently I'm still exploring the multifamily realm, I guess you could say. And I'm also exploring arbitrage and property management. So quite a bit going on, and a lot has changed from when I started early last year. So I'm still kind of a newbie and I'm learning so much along the way. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. Right now, it's more arbitrage, especially because the market has been really weird lately. I've kind of had to pivot my angle and focus more on arbitrage and that method and property management. But the main goal is still multifamily. And in the process of things kind of being iffy with the market, I'm taking this time to just educate myself a bit more on the multifamily sector.
Love that. I love that you're not, sitting on your hands waiting around for a deal, or you're taking that time to continue your self-development and looking to still take action. So we'll circle back to the multifamily. I'd love to hear a little bit more on what that process has been like for you. But you mentioned starting off wholesaling, and you said that you wholesaled a couple single family homes. So could you just highlight why you chose to start off with that strategy,
Yeah.
and, kind of dissect what your first wholesale deal looked like and your key learnings and takeaways?
Yeah, sure. So I started with wholesale because I really started with no money. So I started as a working investor. And what that means is you kind of find the deal and you prep it and you walk it and you make it look sexy, like we like to say, and get investors interested who would then buy the deal. But also because you found it, you get paid for that. So I had a fee on top of what I originally put down as a deposit for the property. So I really started just to get some skin in the game and get some money in my pocket to do the things that I actually wanted to do and get started with that. So actually, my first wholesale deal was a single family in Cornwall, Ontario. If you don't know where Cornwall is, that's out like near Ottawa and Quebec side. So it was a flip opportunity. So I got that under contract. It was off market. That's the best way to get wholesale deals, is off market. Although I have done a wholesale with a property on market. So yeah, I got it off market for a really good deal. Got the price down a bit lower than what it was originally, going for. And then I put a fee on top of that and I found a buyer for it. I ended up putting a proposal together and just highlighted all the, the key facts of the property and what needs to be done with the property, what the costs would be, renovations, etc., and what their profits would look like. So once they see that, everyone wants to make profit, minimum 40K profit off of a flip. And at the time, it was a perfect time and a good deal. And yeah, someone went for it. And that was my first wholesale deal. I learned a lot through that experience because there's a lot of paperwork within Ontario that I didn't know of, but thank God I had a great lawyer and he walked me through everything. So yeah, that was my first deal.
and share one of those key learnings that you may have stumbled upon in terms of, going through your first deal.
What was that like?
What was that one lesson that you may have learned from that first deal?
Keep doors of communication open with the buyers and with the sellers,
right? To
be as transparent as possible and to definitely know whatever province that you're looking to do real estate in, know the forms that kind of come with it. For me, with that property, I didn't know that at the time, I didn't know I needed to firm up on the deal before transferring it over. So I had to go back and do a waiver form. But if the person signs the 145 form in Ontario, that's just the form to transfer it over to the new buyers. Once they sign that, you can firm up on the deal. But I didn't know that at the time. So I had to go back and retrace my steps, but it all worked out. I learned something new and now I know what to do if that happens again or if someone needs help and I could kind of help them with that.
That's great. It definitely sounds like you learned a ton as going through that first deal. And so, Keshera, you mentioned that one of the deals that you wholesaled was on market as well. Yeah. Was there anything different or any additional due diligence that you had to do in that scenario, just given that it was on market? I'd imagine an investor or just a buyer may think, okay, it's on market. So where's the value? Why can't I just buy it myself?
Right. So once it's on market, if you have it under contract, they can't go and buy it. It's technically yours at that point because you have it under contract. And a lot of negotiation went into it in terms of bringing the price down. You want the buyers to like you. And just because it's on the market and someone else sees it and they're like, oh, why can't I just go? Doesn't mean that owner's going to like you or doesn't mean you're going to get the same deal that I was able to negotiate and get, right? So there is value in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So positioning the value proposition and, to your point, the negotiation skills and all those other pieces. That's great.
It all needs to be taken into consideration for sure. Building relationships or rapport with like the realtor and with the owners is like a major thing, major factor.
Love that. You touched on a great point there. You get what you negotiate, right? So I love that you emphasized on that. What was the feeling like just closing on that first deal? Like, did it crush all your limiting beliefs? I'm curious because I'm sure like going into it, you're like, man, like, you're kind of iffy about it. So did it crush all your limiting beliefs at that point?
Part of me believed that I can do it, which is why I stuck to it.
Right.
But there were times along the way where it's like, should I just let it go? Should I just, give up? I'm happy I didn't, because it made me push myself. And once I got my first check, I was like, yo, I can do this. You're the only one that stands in your own way, really. So it's all about believing in yourself. I definitely did crush my limits because, I didn't know I could make that amount of money within less than a week. So, and it happens quickly. Like when it comes to these deals and transferring it off to another seller, it's a quick process because you only have a certain amount of days to waiver from that deal, right? To waiver the conditions. So you have to be like on the ball. So I really did push myself. I really did push my limits, like you said, and I impressed myself. I surprised myself, I must say. And once you do that, the sky's the limit. Like you could do anything.
Absolutely. I'm sure that you truly inspired one audience member out there. So I love that. I love that story. And what are some of the apps and resources, since we're talking about wholesaling, what are some of the apps and resources that you use to run your business that you can't live without, that really give you that competitive edge? What are some of those apps and resources?
I would say definitely having a mentor or, a circle that you can go to ask questions, a lawyer, a good lawyer who's not only good in real estate, but who's real estate investor savvy. Like they understand from an investor's perspective. Having someone on your team that believes in you, that knows that you can do it, but definitely for sure knowing in yourself that you can do it. And like the best resource of all is the internet. The internet, Facebook, connecting with other investors and seeing what they've gone through or what they're doing, how they've done things. That's the best resource, honestly.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. And so we touched on it off the top, but we know like you're very big on the multifamily space, as you mentioned. And we know like you kind of focus on kind of that like 6 unit and above in terms of the property type. Yeah. Like, why do you believe like multifamily properties are like it's such a powerful strategy? And can you share once again kind of your first deal in the multifamily space?
Yeah. So I'm still working on my first deal in the multifamily space. I have walked a couple properties and did underwriting for multiple multifamily deals. I would say that, it's just a better area because my mentor, he always like tells us that a single family would cost you so much more money. A single family is the most expensive property you would ever invest in because it has so many leaks. With a house, you have one roof, you have insurance, property taxes. If something broke, there's just so many things, but you always have one income with a single family house. With a multifamily, you have the same things, taxes, insurance, one roof. So if there's a leak, it's still one roof instead of multiple with single families, but you also have multiple streams of income coming from each tenant in that property. So it's like, even if something did leak or have a break or whatnot, you could cover that and you could still have income in your pocket. With a single family house, you fix one thing with that one income that you got and you have nothing in your pocket left, right? So he always like tells us that. So, and he always says the higher you go, the more units you go, the easier it is, because with a single family, they're looking at your personal income. With multifamily, they're looking at the income of the property itself. So it's like yours, it has nothing really to do with you and more to do with, can the property sustain itself?
That's great. Yeah, great points. Just on that, like having multiple streams of income or rental income versus that one for a single family, and then just really just mitigating your risk, right?
Exactly.
That's great. And so you mentioned that you've underwritten a few deals, and so like analysis is probably like a key, like something that you do on a regular basis. Right. For our listeners that maybe not familiar with what goes into analyzing a multifamily deal, can you just talk about like some of the key variables as a part of your analysis that you look at?
Okay, so with underwriting or analyzing properties, it's important to have the income and expenses. That's the main thing, you know. You need to know all the expenses of the property and all the income, because that's going to really determine the NOI, the net operating income, and that's going to determine the value of the property and how much, you know, you're willing to offer on the property, or if their asking price is even, you know, worth the amounts, worth the property itself, right? So getting the income and expenses and using that for your analysis, so you can understand what your ROI is, your return of investment, how much cash needed you're going to get. It all surrounds that process. One thing that we always include, because a lot of properties and owners, I don't know if they either quote unquote forget to add it in or they just don't, because they want their cap rate to look good or their cash flow to look good. But we always include the property management. We always include a maintenance fee, and we always include a capital expenditure. So that capital expenditure is what's going to go towards things like, oh, this roof is leaking, you know, 3 years after I bought it. Okay, the capital expenditure is going to go towards fixing that. And then it doesn't really interfere with the income coming into your pocket.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all important factors. Ron, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I'm curious, Keshera, what have you been seeing with, you know, the current market and, you know, the rise in interest rates? What have you been seeing in the multifamily space? What kind of effects has those interest rate hikes have on, you know, multifamily?
Oh, I've been seeing a lot of stubborn sellers, so to speak. I mean, you know, everyone wants to make profit off of their buy. Like, they don't want to make less than what they put into a property, and that's totally fair. But with the high interest rates and stuff like that, like, all these things now need to be taken into consideration, because it does affect the price and it does affect the value now, and it does affect whether this property can get a mortgage or not. So I've really been seeing that there are still super high prices, but with that, there's also creative financing. So if you're able to connect with a seller or like an owner, you know, you could work something out and have some creative financing, even with the high interest rates and the switch in market. There's still opportunity out there. You just got to find it. And sometimes you just got to get really creative with your offers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think usually in inflationary or recessionary times like these, creative financing tends to be a better option because, well, as you said, they don't want to take that loss, right? But how do we make it a win-win where, you know, we could still mortgage it, right? We're not losing a lot, we're not bleeding a lot, and you're able to still get the price that you want. And have you been seeing that, sellers are favorable to these creative financing strategies, or
Some of them
what are you
are.
seeing?
Some of them are. It's just a matter of what is going to work
Hmm.
best, right?
Right.
A lot of sellers are interested in VTBs right now because they know, and a lot of them are investors themselves, especially in multifamily.
Exactly.
They understand what's happening and they understand the market. So definitely finding win-win situations is what's going to work best.
Hmm. Yeah. Since we're talking about interest rate hikes and the current market, at the top of the conversation, you mentioned that, you're making a few tweaks here and there in terms of your strategies. Could you jump a bit more into that? You mentioned property management. Or what does that look like for you now? And, what kind of tweaks are you making aside from those?
Yeah, so I mentioned having to like kind of pivot my strategies. So like right now with like the market and stuff like that, although I'm still doing my education and research on multifamilies, I'm kind of focusing more on arbitrage, where it's like I don't really need such big sums of money up front. And for those who don't know what arbitrage is, it's really just being able to rent a space, rent a property, and using that property as a short term rental. So that's your business right there, right? A lot of, especially in Ontario, because of the Landlord Tenant Act and how it's really favorable to tenants more than landlords, a lot of landlords are open to that strategy. Because when you have short-term tenants, you don't have to worry about people not paying their rent. You don't have to worry about the place being messy or having complaints or, issues with tenants. Because with short-term tenants, it keeps rolling, right? They have to leave at some point. There's no lease agreement in place for them, right? So in that case, myself and my team will be the holders of the lease, but will rent out, like sublease, I guess you could say, that property to people short term, where there's a quick turnover and, landlords or owners don't have to worry about messy spaces because we have to keep it clean for the next, I guess, tenants or people coming in for their short term stay.
Yeah, it's a powerful strategy. Thanks for sharing that. So earlier, Keshera, or actually throughout the interview, Keshera, you shared some of the best practices and habits that your coach kind of instilled in you that you're applying today. Can you talk about like the value and like the role that coaching has played in your investing journey? And then like what tips would you have for somebody looking to get started in real estate investing in today's market?
Yeah. A big tip is get a coach, get a mentor. Because having a mentor who is in a position where you yourself would like to be, you have that guidance. They can guide you towards that. And, sometimes it may be a little pricey, but it's worth it because you'll make that back. If you have the right coach, you make that back as quickly as possible. I myself has had two mentors. And like with my first mentor, which was more for like wholesale and flips and stuff, I made that back off of my first wholesale. And then now I have a mentor whose specialty is multifamilies. And who better to learn but from someone who has multiple multifamilies and is in the position that I want to be in, where now he has multifamilies and he has a whole coaching network, a whole like school basically of like-minded investors wanting to learn about multifamilies. Like that's a position that I want to be in. So I'm going to learn from, that person. And one key factor I think all new investors need to have is really believing in themselves and knowing that they can do it because the opportunity is out there and it's possible. It's possible for any and everyone. So just look within yourself, believe in yourself, and know that you can do it. And there's people around to guide you. You just got to ask the question.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. I think it's imperative that we pay to shortcut our success. So I love that you're a big proponent of that, and it helped to really, expound your journey or your
Right.
success on your journey, right? So I love that.
One thing I really took away and learned throughout this whole experience is you can't do it by yourself. Like, you need a team, you need somebody to go to, because there's going to be days where it's so frustrated. I can't tell you how many times I broke down and cried frustrated, feeling stuck or whatnot. It happens, it can be very frustrating sometimes. But knowing that you have a team and people who've actually been where you are, like, that's the biggest thing. There's a whole community out there. Like, when I first started, I started learning about real estate investing with Bigger Pockets. And it's like they were so open with providing me information and assistance. So it's like, you just have to put yourself out there and ask the question and get to know other people. And, they'll guide you and you'll eventually find where you fit in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you for being so open. I don't think we talk about that stuff often, about, the challenges and like feeling stuck and crying in the shower, that kind of stuff. I don't think we talk about it enough. So thank you for being so open.
No problem.
Keshera, this has been a wonderful conversation. And just hearing about your growth has been so inspiring. I can't wait to see where you end up in the coming months or next year. I'd love to continue to follow you and see where you're headed. But before we end off today's episode, can you share what you have going on currently with regards to real estate, and what are the best ways our listeners could reach out to you?
So currently what I have going on is arbitrage opportunities happening in Dominican, coming up Jamaica, here in Ontario as well. And we're currently looking into Montreal. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have kind of going on right now. And then also like property management aspects for those who do have short-term rentals and just don't have the time to manage them, or, do the advertising and find the right resources to help run it. We do that as well. The best way to contact me, you can find me on Instagram at journeytoinvesting.re, or you can find me on Facebook, Shera, Shera, Lyons with a Y, Lyons. And just slide into my DMs.
Sure, love it. I guess we have to have a part 2, because those are some big things you're talking about there. So I guess we have to have a part 2. But yeah, absolutely love it. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much again for being with us today, taking some time out to really spread your positivity and the success around your journey.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, lovely. And to our audience members, our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in again today. Make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
What was the one thing you heard today that inspires you to take action? Now plan to take that action in the next 24 hours. If you're looking for more support, ideas, or just want to connect with others like you taking action, join us in the Black Wealth Effect Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Black Wealth Effect podcast.